Ba 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 ba
Ba, ba,
ba 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 ba
ba,
ba
ba.
ba 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 ba. You like the little delayed note
I
there?
I do. I love the
Bill
Bill Murray
Murray.
mix.
Yeah,
I
the
love
Bill
it.
Murray Star Wars Saturday Night Live Star Wars tribute. Hey, it's Mike at Erudite DM, and I'm here with a friend of mine, Gary Lewis. Gary's does the Second Watch show on Friday nights at 10 o'clock Central Time. You can watch that right here on the YouTubes, as the young kids say. And it's a lot of fun. They talk about a lot of different games and systems, and they have great guests on there. So check out the Second Watch. Gary, tell them about yourself and what else you do, please.
Uh, well, I do the second watch Fridays from 10 to midnight with Matt. We talk about games and we talk about a lot of it from a GM perspective because we both run a lot of games. We've had a lot of great guests on. I think Friday night this week we are going to have on DM Scotty, who wrote Easy D6. He's got the DM's craft.
Yeah.
I'm real excited for that. I'm a big fan of that system. But really, what it comes down to is me and Matt like talking about games. We have different opinions, and we enjoy arguing with each other about them. Um, it's just two guys hanging out, having a drink, talking about games.
Well, actually, there's a trio. There's DM Cloaker, who's
Well,
Brian. Brian's from Houston this
Brian
week,
is
but
like he's our reserve. He's our
yeah,
pinch hitter. Every time we try to make it a formal, I was about to say a formal threesome.
yeah, don't do it.
Um, he's like, no, I don't have time. I'll come in when you guys don't have a guest. So that's his. He has decided his role is to fill the empty seat.
Well, I used to
It's
think
there.
Brian was the silent genius on the show. I used to think that. And I thought Brian was, Matt was just a pretty face, and I didn't know what Gary was. But I've turned all the way around in this, and I realize now that Gary really is the only shining bastion of light on that show who
It's
really
true.
who
It's
makes
true.
common sense. He's obviously a very handsome man. He's a talented bass
Yeah.
player, guitar player. Did I just insult you by
I
saying
think
that?
I play things that have strings.
Strings. He's a
Instruments with
stringy
strings.
player. He likes string cheese. He's into string theory. Anything with a string, really. Um, why are we here today? Well, if you saw the headline, you saw the graphic. We are doing a video all about one of the special loves. I heard Gary going on and on about this, and I'm like, I've seen it. I've seen Star Wars, the role playing game, but I've never played it. And I grew up with the movies like we all did. So I thought, why not get him on here? Tell us why the hell does this game persist and continue to have its own following? So all things Star Wars, I thought Gary could kind of baptize us in the game and praise brother, teach us how it is with the ways of the Force.
I will do my best. I will do my best. I don't know if I'd consider myself an expert, um, but I have played it quite a
Yeah,
bit.
fair.
So
And you not only played it, to be fair, you've run the games too, right?
I've run the game. It's been a while since I've actually run like a more than one or two games at a time, and that's probably been years. I think I ran it for some kids about a year ago. I played around with it with my girl. You know what I mean? But I haven't done
Yeah,
a campaign for a
yeah.
while. That being said, the system is so simple. It's fairly intuitive, so it's not anybody can open a book and know as much as I know.
Well, we did talk
About
about it
games.
recently, right? And that the biggest thing this game has going for it is it's got what well, more than nine movies,
Well,
the additional movies. People know the lore, they know
right, but
the
I will say
background on.
something. So let's specify. We're talking about Weston Games Star Wars D6, okay? And I do think it's important to think of this game in the context of when it came out, in that it was 10 years after the first movie. It was about 3 years after Return of the Jedi. Um, so we're talking like everybody's, as far as role playing games go, you've got a lot of people in the Beck Me boxes. You've got AD&D is just really kicking. Um, there were a lot of other games, but I think this might have been the first one that if you didn't live in the city and you just happened to be walking through your Walden books, this might have been one of the first non Dungeons and Dragons games that you would see. Also, we thought Star Wars was over. Lucas had said no more movies. So when you see there's no novels, this is before Thrawn and all that stuff. So it was a big deal when it came out,
Yeah.
especially if you were a kid that grew up on those original movies.
Yeah. So now we know what's happened. Now we know of all the other movies, the other franchises, how the IP just exploded, and how the IP really intertwined to a point where this game became really lore and canon for the movies, right?
Well, that's exactly what happened. Is that when this game started, um, like I say, the movies were over, and there were a lot of things that we didn't know. We didn't know the names to certain aliens. We didn't know what certain spaceships were. And the team that made this game pretty much had license to name it and to define it. My understanding is that they did have to send things into Lucasfilm for final approval, but that very little was sent back. I remember hearing an interview with someone where they said the only thing that was off limits was like the Clone Wars. They couldn't even talk about the Clone Wars, and then anything that happened afterwards. They wanted the game set in that sort of in between episode 4 and 5, what we would call Star Wars, in between Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back.
Do you see games being played like on Start Playing or on Discord? I mean, who is playing this game today? I know why they are. I get it. If I was a huge fan, I'd be playing it too. And I tend to play it.
I don't see as much as I used to see. Occasionally you'd see a Discord thing start up, or you'd go to Facebook and there was a group there. There is, if you look up Star Wars D6 Holocron on the internet, and I don't know the actual website name, but you can find all these old books. They're all out of print. This site has been up for probably 15 years, and it hasn't been taken down. So I assume it's legal to go get all these books. There's actually multiple sites that have them, but that's probably the best one. Yeah. So who's playing now? Occasionally you'll find a message board. Occasionally you can find a Facebook thing. The last game that I saw was being organized on a Star Wars Facebook group, and it wasn't that long ago, just a couple months. I wouldn't say there's a huge community, but it's devoted. And I do think when I talk to people, I hear people say that this is happening around the table. People still play this game with their friends a lot.
Did you tell me that when we were talking that the Facebook group is really a good place to go and start?
I would
if you were into this.
Honestly, game wise, I think Facebook is a great place to go for almost anything. I'm surprised.
Well, yeah, but I meant for this one. Sure.
I would say this is the best one. Yeah, for sure. I would say Facebook is a good place to start. You'll at least find somebody with a server that's running a game. It may not be right away. It may take, a week or so, but it's not going to be as active as your newer games, but there is a community there. You will bump into something.
Well, staying with the history of the game and how it evolved and all that before we start getting into individual parts of the game and how it plays and what makes it special. Tell us about the situation with the editions and how they've progressed and maybe which one you like and why, that kind of thing. Please.
Okay. Well, the first edition, definitely there's, I guess, 3 editions. There's first edition, second edition, and then there's a second edition revised. The first edition was really simple. You could just jump in and get going. So was the second edition. But they did, with the second edition, they made a few tweaks to the rules that I think might have slowed it down a little bit. So then they had the revised edition towards the end.
Yeah.
I find that when people are trying to start games, you have first edition folks and you have second edition revised. I feel like that in between game isn't really getting played much, but I could be wrong. That's just my experience.
Yeah.
I prefer first edition. I don't, whatever wonky there is, I never really bump into. I don't ever have a real hard time with the rules. And it's just a game that I play. I don't think.
Well, I mean, I'll say the first thing as an outsider, when I saw this game, I was a little intimidated when I saw the D6 thing on it. And I knew what that meant. I mean, I knew it was a D6 mechanic. So all of your rollings, instead of 20-sided die based, a D20, right. It's built around a D6. And that's really the die you need. Tell us a little about that. Is that something someone would be intimidated by? Is it easy to learn?
No, it's the easiest thing in the world. So essentially think of it like your D&D character, right? Let's say you're going to have anywhere from a 3 to a 6 in one of your 6 stats. Let's say we're talking about dexterity. I think it's dexterity or agility in this. I think it's dexterity. Let's say you have a 3 in dexterity. So when you're just trying to do some random dexterous task, there's no skill for it. You would roll 3d6. There's going to be a difficulty number, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. It gets harder as you go up. And you just roll your dice, you add them up, and if they beat the target number, you succeed. You can add skills to that. So let's say you had an acrobatic skill. You had 2 dice in that acrobatic skill, so that would make for 5. Your dexterity of 3, your acrobatics of 2. You roll those 5 dice together, and add them up, and if they beat the target number, you succeed.
Interesting.
So
It sounds simple enough. Yeah.
it's incredibly simple. It's
Isn't there
the
also
simplest thing.
I'm sorry, isn't there also a pool like force points or character points? I think they're called, or something that you can apply when you need some help.
Oh man, I have to brush up on. Like I said, it's been a while. Character points, I'm blanking on right now, but force points. Everybody gets a force point, right? You start, and basically the way that works is during some big moment when you need something to happen, you spend your force point, and the number of dice you're going to roll doubles. Right. So if you really got to make that shot, instead of 5, you're going to get 10. And if you're doing something that's sort of, it's noble, it's heroic, pretty much like the bigger you can make the scene and as selfless, heroic, you usually don't, you get a force point back right away.
Yeah.
It's not something you get one of, you can get another one.
You were telling me about how this game, more than most or any others you could really think of, is really about trying to recreate situations the players want to recreate. I don't mean the exact ones from a movie or something they saw in the franchise, but similar feeling type situations, right? Swinging across the thing like Luke and the Death Star on the rope with Leia.
It's incredibly cinematic. So the encounter or combat rules, these are designed for theater of the mind. Later on, they went and had some miniatures and did some things, I believe. But they wanted you, it was all in your imagination. It was all about, what can you do? The number of dice you rolled, the whole thing was kind of gonzo at the time. You could have a handful of dice, then you add your force point, and you've got more, and Star Wars music is in the background, and all your friends are cheering, and dice are all over the table, and it just had this real bombastic kind of play to it, especially as a kid, right? Because it's Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And all that. But it felt very much like the movies. The mechanics helped that. The force point really helped that. I think it was really easy for the game to feel like Star Wars just because of the over the top nature of it. And also, when you're a kid and Star Wars was the greatest thing in the world, it's not hard to fall into that mindset.
Yeah.
I'm a smuggler. I'm a bounty. I'm whatever it is you are. You've been playing that in your mind anyway. So,
yeah, it's the old thing where Star Wars is not really science fiction, right? We don't go into the science. It's not about the science. It's about being an old heroic comic book or serial, very film or radio show or something from the 20s and 30s. It has that kind of feel to it. If you're a Star Wars fan and if you've not played this, I urge you to check it out. I intend to play it. Gary's been nice enough to offer to run a game, and I'm going to hold you to that for me and some family, and we'll try it out. I think it does sound like a lot of fun, which is funny because in other things like D&D or Shadow Dark or even DCC, I'm not into the cinematic. I'm not into the story, creating those epic film moments. That seems like a Critical Role kind of thing to me, which just, it's not my thing. But in this game, because of the movies and because of the books and because of the TV shows and all that stuff, I have in the back of my mind, even though over the years I lost interest in it over the years, but I was still watching, right? Anybody tells you, I quit watching those when I wasn't a kid, and they're lying.
You peak.
They saw it. They saw it,
yeah.
Or they watched it with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wanted to go buy toys, even, old grown men. Got to have some toys.
Right.
Okay, so back to my questions here. I'm trying to get through a lot of information here. Character creation, what's that look like? Is that laborious like a Traveler thing?
No,
or
not
is
at
it
all.
pretty quick and easy?
It's so quick and easy. So basically in the back of the book, there's a number of templates, and I don't mean 6 or 7. They're like character classes. I don't mean 8 or 9 or what. I mean, we're talking like 30 or more templates. I'm not
ready
even
to
sure.
Play, just copy.
Well, the only thing you have to do with those is you are given, I believe it's 7 skill dice to distribute amongst your skills. That's really your customization. at the beginning.
So you roll 7 die, and whatever those numbers are, you
No,
apply
no.
or
So you
explain?
get so think of the dice as almost like tokens. If you look at the character sheet, it has like strength, and then it has the strength skills underneath it, like
Mhm.
mechanics and those skills.
Oh,
So
okay.
so you're given 7 dice to add to the skills,
I
not to the
see.
attributes. So
I
you could
see. Okay.
2 here, 3 there,
You're in
however you
essence
want to.
picking the sub skills and things that your character
You're
has
right. And
good at. Yeah.
the thing is though, is it does work. There's every template is something you can imagine seeing in a Star Wars movie or show or what have
Mhm.
you. And if you really want to, really dig in, and I want to make my own character, from scratch, I think it's 18 dice you distribute between stats, and you have the 7 dice for skills. But the templates are a lot of fun. It's uh, I don't have them up.
I've looked through them. It's okay. I've looked through them. You were
Yeah,
nice enough to share some stuff with me. I took a peek at, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. Really, really fast, easy to play. And I don't remember, Gary, were there classes as well? I mean,
those are your classes.
are you a member of the Rebel Alliance? Are you a member of the
Okay,
Empire? Member of a
so this
trading group?
doesn't right. So it doesn't really go into in first edition. They assume, especially those first couple books,
Mhm.
you are a member of the rebellion.
Okay.
That's pretty much what they assume. You might be sort of a free agent that gets hired by the rebellion, but they assume you are going to be involved in the conflict between the rebellion and the empire, and you're going to be on the rebellion side.
Okay.
And it works, which means that the games and the adventures are largely mission based. Go to point A, do the thing. It's not that it's on rails. It's not railroading. It's just here is your goal.
Yeah.
How you go about that goal is fine, but the whole sandbox wandering thing doesn't really happen. Now, later on, modules and supplements, they kind of added to that. You could do bounty hunters, you could be an imperial. Excuse me. You could be a trader, not a trader like
TOR. Yeah.
yeah,
You mean DER, merchant.
exactly. Yeah, merchant.
I'm
You'd be a
guessing.
merchant. So they added on to it. I never really played with a lot of those. We played pretty much with the original 2 books. I think there was an Alliance source book, an Imperial source book. Tramp Freighters is the one where you could remember using that. There was a lot of cool ships in there.
It felt a little to me like the best systems. The best systems have tons and tons of not only adventures, but great freaking resource books like Traveler did, right? Oh, I got to get the next one. I got to get the,
Yeah.
because
I don't, it definitely wasn't as big as something like GURPS, but there was a lot there, and you got to remember back in the day when you put Star Wars on it, it just sold.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It was like
Sure. Anything. Yeah. Lunch boxes. Yeah.
Right.
Sheets.
So yeah, there's tons of stuff. They did expand the game, especially in second edition and in revised. You can take it much further. I prefer the simpler experience. I do prefer just a simple rebellion versus the empire. Here is your mission. And it's just like in a sandbox game. If your players begin to, I want to do this, I want to do that, it's organic, right? You can expand it. But from my point of view, I just give them a mission. Go.
Yeah, keep it simple. And I think you told me this one time is play into the tropes. More than any other game, you're supposed to play in the tropes of unless you're playing maybe James Bond,
Well,
you know what you're getting there.
Something, yeah, you had said something earlier about the big moments and getting all of those. And I think when you play into the tropes, you get that because, if you watch Star Wars movie, there's no guardrails. The paths across the chasm are big enough for one person and everybody just casually walks.
Yeah.
Everything is big. All the maps have verticality. There's up and down and under. These are so you're giving your players the opportunity for the big explosions. And
is that a challenge though? If you're GM and you're running a game like this and you said it's theater of the mind, try describing what the hell is the place they are? Was it Bespin where Luke and Vader in the second movie engage each other and he tells he's his father? That's on Bespin, right down in the guts of the station down below. So, you've got to be pretty good as a GM, though, experienced with telling them that, you're looking at orbit down below. It's nothing but sky, or maybe it's surface. I don't know which way you're facing.
You know what? I'm not sure you have to be that good because I was a kid when we started playing this. Nobody was talking about good GMs or bad GMs.
Right. That's me and
You
you at
know,
age.
that's
Whatever.
us. And when you're playing Star Wars and you say you're on a, you know, there's a huge tower and you're on a, a control pod that's hanging out on an arm over a chasm that seems to go down forever. People with Star Wars on the brain know what that is.
Yeah.
Hundreds of feet away, there's you see other lights from the wall, which you can't reach, so you're never going to reach it. These are not hard things for people to imagine because they've already seen it.
I have a theory that this would be a great game for family play, which I really don't do. I play with some nieces and their family, and they have little children, and we play 5e, D&D 5e. But the kids can't be too close to the table or really listening because I'm talking about warlocks and demons
Right,
and all
right.
kinds of scary stuff. But if you had 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, man, they could certainly jump into Star Wars, I would think, huh?
If
Like a
they're familiar
multi-generational
with
thing.
it,
Yeah,
if they're
sure.
familiar with it,
Yeah,
it would be the easiest thing in the world. I
yeah,
mean, you don't have to describe anything new, really.
yeah.
Everybody knows. And you also, if you think about it with your player base, you have so much you can pick from. You're talking about kids. I'm going to find a way to get Jawas in it. I'm
Yeah,
going to find
right.
a way to get little droids in there. You know what I mean? I'm going
Or
to do all
rocks
those
or
kind of
something.
things.
Yeah, something they'll
Right.
think is cute and fun and funny. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if I'm playing with my OSR buddies who are just about,
Start it
loot
all.
and kill and all that, we're going on an Ewok hunt. You know what I mean? We're going straight to indoor,
Nice little buggers.
and yeah, and we are wiping all those teddy bears out. It's really how you want to do it. Um, yeah, anybody familiar with that is the great thing about IPs, whether it's Marvel,
Yeah.
Star Wars, Aliens, you can rely, you can lean on the IP. Here's Star Wars for you. Started with music and a scroll. You need 3 paragraphs, 2 to 3 sentences a piece, right? Play the music for your players.
Yeah.
Start in media res. We pan down to a planet below where your ship is passing. The alerts go off. The Empire, whatever, however you want to do
Make
it.
a
In
decision.
Act 2,
We
yeah,
just
and
started, right? Make a
in
decision.
make a decision. In Act 2, you have to go to a different setting. If you're on a snow planet, you better go to somewhere hot. And in Act 3, you can go play somewhere random, and that's your finale. I mean,
Yeah, I love the idea that whether it's multi-generational family game with young and old, but it almost also might be good if you have a spouse or a somebody you're dating or whatever, or just a friend who really has never played any RPGs. And I think this is really a good place maybe to start, maybe better than D&D or Shadow Dark or something else, because they already know the whole background. If they've seen the movies, they already know. When we play D&D, people don't know what the hell's a magic user. Oh, it's like a wizard, it's like a mage or a
right.
sorcerer. You have to explain a lot of things in that world.
Well,
Assume, but not in Star Wars.
well, and we all assume that people sort of understand this generic fantasy, the sword and sorcery thing. But if you really look at it, what do we have? Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
a D&D movie every 15 years. I think the 80s, there were some good spots, some good times where some good movies came out.
right.
But fantasy, I mean, I guess the novels seem to still be popular. I'm not, the reason I gravitated towards the Star Wars RPG is that fantasy is not my favorite genre.
Yeah,
There's things about it that I love. D&D to me, and I'm the weirdest, I know, so this is one of those things. Here we go, Gary. But D&D to me is not necessarily, it's more game than it is like extension of my fantasy imagination. To me, it's just more of a game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and that's true for all of us, though, Gary. I think some of us are attracted to one genre over another for whatever reason. And hey, the beautiful thing is, and here we are going on 2026 before long. I can't believe we're already there. And look at all the games out there. I mean, sometimes I just kick myself and lament during the week. I'm like, not another. And I'm sure it's a brilliant system. I'm sure it's, and there are always people that
Yeah.
if I don't know them, and I don't know most of them, but I've heard of them, and I know they're probably writing good games. How many games can I keep track of? But
No,
there's
that's
something
true.
literally for everybody out there. But I'm just thinking this might be a good entry point for somebody to play because it is theater of the mind, because it's not complicated, because of the easy die system, and because of the background information and knowledge of the movies, it could be an easy place to try this
I,
kind of game.
you know what? I think you're kind of right. You know, I've had this conversation with
I'll
other
take
people
kind of
before.
right.
I will
Love
take that,
kind of right.
but it's hard for me to really get behind it 100% because I think so many new players come in. It's not like they don't know what D&D is.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to having a new player be like, hey, this is your Dungeons and Dragons character sheet. This shit's official. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there is a little bit of something for some people, but if you're taking somebody that doesn't care that you've just talked into playing a game, give them Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, and it could be just because I'm high on this right now, kind of going, I got to try this. I got to get this into the mix. There's Mythic Bastion Land. One of these days I'll get to Pendragon. You know, who knows about Axe if I'll ever even get to it or not. But there's a lot of them I want to play. Let's talk about. Well, I'll come back to adventures, but let's talk about availability because the game hasn't been published for some time. The books are somewhat. West End Games is out of business. It's somewhat in legal limbo right now.
I guess.
Where would I get books? Where would I get supplements?
Okay, so real quick, if you're looking for physical copies, you can go to the usual suspects: Noble Knight Games, your local convention, eBay. I wouldn't pay much more than $50. You can find them cheaper. In fact, I know you can find them cheaper, depending on the condition. I've seen them for 35.
Yeah, you don't need mint. You don't need.
Yeah, you don't need mint, and these are not. They're not rare. I think I told you last time we talked that I found a copy of the role playing game, and then that first supplement. I forget what. I have to go look and see what it was called. But I found hard copies of those in my doctor's office a few years ago.
Can you give us the address so they can check your doctor's office periodically and see if there's
no? I actually asked if I could have them, and they told me to take them.
They're all gone.
There's like, you go, Mr. Lewis. Just do what you need to do.
More important, you have the books. Don't worry about us. We'll find some somewhere.
I since traded those books away, and I didn't feel bad about it because, like I say, if you want to find the physical copies, you can. Now, digital copies and PDFs. I was telling you before, there's a site, it's like Star Wars Holocron or something like that. I don't know if I would put the link up. I don't, like I say, I don't know the legalities of it.
Yeah, I don't need to put it up, but I may just tell them how it's spelled or something.
Right. Now, there's more than one site. This site is very public. It's been up for at least 15 years, if not more. You can tell when you go to it, it is an old site. And you can pretty much download PDFs of everything. I don't know the legal. I know that Fantasy Flight reprinted the first two books about 5-6 years ago, maybe not that long ago, right before they sold the license. But the PDFs are fine. And you know, as I read through these, because it's not like I always have these open. I'm playing a lot of different games, but you know, they are from a time. The information is somewhat organized and kind of laid out, you know, pretty. But if you're looking for a specific rule, it might be buried in a paragraph. You know, you're like, it's not like it's a list of rules. You know,
so could you go to ChatGPT and do I'm playing Star Wars RPG D6 by West End Games, and I need to know about a rule. I tried that before with Shadow Dark, and it was okay. And I tried it before with another time with Shadow Dark, and they completely neglected some core part of the game. And I'm like, you're wrong. Please look again. Oh, you're correct. Thanks for telling me.
I would assume there's enough about it on the internet that I would assume ChatGPT can answer some questions.
Yeah, I'm going to advise everyone a couple of things. Please like and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here and you're not one of the regulars and you like this kind of content and meeting people like Gary who have a ton of great information to share with you. And again, watch Second Watch on Friday nights. You will not be disappointed on YouTube. But also, I'm looking at the site. It is a fandom site, so it's like Star Wars Holocron, HOLOCRON. But don't download it unless you think you can do it legally. Don't do anything illegally. I'm going to advise you not to steal anything from anybody.
And it's in that weird loophole. Marvel's the Marvel superhero game is kind of in that same place where it's like who owns the books or whatever, and that's been up on the internet for free forever. Nobody's hiding it. You know, there's 2 or 3 sites you can get that. Obviously, you know, Marvel owns the IP, but who's in charge of the game, you know, who's the,
Right,
that
right.
actual
So there's
board.
a little challenge there. You can also check your local game stores. Like I was telling folks recently, I was in Asheville, North Carolina, found a great game shop there, the Last Wyvern, and they had a used section
Mhm.
of just used books. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is great. I need this. I need this.
There's
I
a
need this.
here in Austin, there's a great store called Outlaw Moon, which is behind a comic book shop. Actually, it's comic book shop, graphic art, and Outlaw Moon. Outlaw Moon is all vintage toys and games, and they have a role playing section in the corner, which you'll find your hardback AD&D books, your random Star Wars books. It's got a smattering of new games,
Yeah.
but the person who put it together said that this is a curated collection. So anyway, Outlaw Moon, Austin, Texas.
Okay, moving on because we just got a few more minutes left. I think
Sure.
we both have to wrap it up. Let's talk about adventures. I know there's lots of you showed me recently.
Yeah.
Lots of great adventures out there to pick from, and you can homebrew your own. But what's a really great starter adventure that you'd look at for players? And
So this is where you're going to catch me. This is where you're going to trip me up because honestly, I didn't use any of the published adventures to the
you
point
said
where
you weren't an expert. That's fair. That's
yeah,
fair.
to the point where I even forgot there was an adventure in that first book. The first time we were talking about this, you're like, "There's an adventure in the book." I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." I don't think I ever used. There's a solo adventure. I will say this: there's a solo adventure in the role playing game in that 1st one that kind of helps teach you. And I guess there's an adventure in the back of either that one or that second book. I never really, I was a kid. I had a million ideas for Star Wars adventures. You know what I mean? I just never really used them. I will say, and I do have them downloaded. Let me look through here because some of the names that you'll hear, and that's the other thing is I can't tell you, I can tell you maybe what someone else has said.
Mm-hmm.
Really, don't worry about the adventures. That's what I'm going to tell you. You can come up with your own Star Wars adventures. What you do want to do is you want to get the galaxy guides. All right. The galaxy guides will give you an aid to really do everything. This is where they have, tramp freighters, bounty hunters, something just
Oh,
on
yeah, how the
Bespin,
Empire works,
how
Stormtrooper.
the Empire
Yeah.
works. Exactly. And it offers a lot of those alternate rules that people, to help them play in different ways than just being with the rebellion.
Yeah, that site we were talking about, the Star, just type in Google Star Wars fandom holocron, HOLOCRON. You'll find it looks like lots of cool stuff here. I don't know about downloading or what, but there's also some funky languages here, but it tells you who the owners and creators are. So I don't know. Check it out. You'll find this stuff online. That's not our job. We told you how great it is. Now you gotta
I'm not your lawyer.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing before we wrap this up. I know I've said that 3 times. We didn't talk about the Force. How is the Force handled in the game? I mean, what a great fun for a hand.
The Force is really okay.
Right?
I'm gonna have to write. I did make some notes. Let me see. I'm not sure because one thing you'll find out when you're a game master for Star Wars games,
Yeah.
and this has been forever, people don't want to play Jedi, especially the people who have played role playing games for a long time. I wanted to do a Jedi campaign, couldn't get them done. You know what I mean? I couldn't get enough people together. Everybody wants to be Han Solo or Boba Fett.
Yeah, they don't want their hands tied, too much structure, too much.
Right. Now, in this game, it's pretty easy. I did take a couple notes, but basically you have there's 3 force powers: control, alter, sense. Right. So you kind of mind control, you can sense things, you might be able to move a thing or two.
Telekinesis kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you have a rank just like in regular. You have a certain number of dice you roll. You just tell the GM what you want to do, and if it passes, it passes. There's a difficulty. I think on some of them, like with control, and this might be second edition, but you would roll like make a competitive roll if somebody's resisting mind control, like actively resisting, become a competitive roll. You can use your force on force powers, right? So if you really need to get it done, you can double the amount of dice that you're rolling. And that also goes into like how hard you hit because combat's kind of wild with the way they do damage. It's you have like a toughness score. It's not really a toughness score. I'm trying to think of what it's called right now. But basically, when you hit, there's it's did you do this? Did you hit but do under this number, over, double, and then you take a stun, you take a wound, you're incapacitated. It doesn't really click off hit points in the same. You do get weaker, but it's not like in D&D where you just chip away at somebody.
Am I crazy, Gary, or is this where exploding dice came from?
I don't know if it's where it came from, but they did make their way in the. I want to say it was in the resource book. They added the wild die, so basically you would make sure that one of your d6 was a different color than the rest, right? Like we had all white and then a red die. Adding, you're just replacing one, and when that die comes up a 6, it explodes. You get to roll another one and add that to your result. If it comes one, mechanically, if it comes up a 1, the judge grabs like the highest die, like one of your 6s that you may have, and the 1,
and yanks it. You lose damage.
You lose it. Right. And then the judge should, if he's a good GM, right, that he should narratively explain what happened, what that mishap was, that caused that to happen.
Yeah, but if you rolled a 6 on that exploding die, then you get to roll again. And if you roll a 6, that's 6 more points.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. On the one die. Right. So if you're rolling 5 die and one of those is your wild die, if your wild die comes up 6, absolutely. You could, and you just add that result to the total.
Yeah.
And that's in whatever you do. And that came later. I don't remember if that came with 2nd edition or if that was possibly in one of the expansions that had come out beforehand.
Yeah.
Before 2nd. I think it added a kind of a cool Star Wars flavor to things. Like you see like all the stormtroopers are running through and you see that one dude, bash his head on the side of that blooper. Hey man, his wild die rolled a 1. He's lucky he kept his feet.
Dark little eye stick on the costume.
Mm-hmm. So, it just added some, and it was the first game to really add that kind of randomness to every roll. You've got a 2 in 6 chance, a 1 in 3 chance of every roll you make either being really good or something bad.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm sure some of you are interested in this, have questions. You can put them in the comments down below, and I'll make sure Gary sees them or pass them on to him, or find him on X, and you can also ask him about Star Wars D6 there if you're into the game. And let us know if you've played it before, what your impressions are. Do you still play it? If there's any players out there still playing this in their regular rotation of games, we'd love to hear about it and like to hear what your experiences are. Because like Gary said, he hadn't played it in a year or two, and it comes and goes, but he does like the game and wants to play more of it.
I think this came up. We were talking at North Texas, and we were just talking about different games. And if I recall correctly, Matt told you, yeah, Gary doesn't even like fantasy or something like that. He plays these games.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious because I play a lot of D&D. I play a lot of D&D. But I do enjoy other games. I do enjoy, like, this system was a big one, coming up as a kid and learning about role-playing games. Marvel was another one. Anything that wasn't swords and wizards, I look at.
But you respect a good torch timer.
I mean, I prefer the classic turn-based mechanic of having torches run out every hour.
All right, last serious question. Okay, thank you, and thanks for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Hey, no, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, they're going to want to talk about this. Last question, a serious one. This little bird told me that you actually have one of those Princess Leia gold bikinis from Return of the Jedi. If we come on and we do a follow-up, would you wear that on camera? And will I get demonetized?
I have a different website for wearing the Princess Leia bikini. It's much more profitable.
Please don't post that address. Don't look that one up either on Google. Yeah, it won't end well for you. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. Appreciate you being here. Again, please like Erudite DM. I had to think of what my name is here on YouTube. And subscribe, share, do all the things you're supposed to do. But also tell us what you think down below. I'm very active with the community and the people that watch my videos, and I want to hear what you have to say. And if they're great ideas, if you want to pass something on, you can also email me, eruditedm@gmail.com. And we are out of here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gary. You're a great
Hey,
guest.
thanks for having me, man. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.